Hello, and on the gaming table today we're taking another look at a test of Ork Warz. This is test number 2. So once again here we've got the Melee Boyz, I'll come up with better names later on, going up against the Shoota Ladz in a little bit of a different scenario this time. So here you can see the table laid out with the same terrain as last time, but this time the Orks are on opposite sides and they're kind of having a meeting engagement here where they're both going to move into this area and basically try and beat each other up. So let's see what happens. Bit of a spoiler alert, this was a quicker battle here, so I'm only doing this one at about 4 times normal speed. So you can see here things starting to move up, and then in the first turn there was actually a double 1 rolled on the activations, and what that actually does is it prematurely ends the turn. So that means in the first turn here only a couple of Orks got to move on each side, so not much action happening there. So as the second turn starts here, the Shoota Ladz are starting to get into some firing positions. That's their advantage. They have longer range weapons and they can shoot basically twice as far, some of them, as the Melee Boyz can. The stick I'm using, which is my basic measuring tool, is a 6-inch stick, and with some of the Shoota Ladz they can actually shoot up to 24 inches. They don't have such a great chance of hitting at that range, especially against Orks in cover, but at least it gives them a chance. And so through this part of the turn here, there was a lot of long range shots going on. No real effects, but a lot of chances to try and get a shot in anyway. For their part, the Melee Boyz are trying to move up as much as they can, as quickly as they can, and seeking as much cover as they can along the way. So if they can be completely blocked, line of sight, then they can't be shot at, obviously. But even if they're only partially exposed, a little bit behind cover, then that cover is going to give them some benefit against getting shot at. So hopefully they can get close enough to be able to get into melee before the Shoota Ladz take them out with shooting. And for the Shoota Ladz, they've formed in quite a long line here. They're trying to get good angles and maybe some crossfire action going on here against the Melee Boyz. And as the initial activations take place on the current turn, you can see there's a wee bit of thinking in this game as well about figuring out where should I put things for best benefit. And so this is good, even though this game is kind of designed as a beginner's game with fairly simple rules, there is still enough complexity here to be able to do, interesting things without there being a lot of complication about making that really hard to understand or a lot of rules involved in that sort of thing. So I'm pretty happy about the way this is turning out at the moment. That kind of balance of complexity versus complication is something that I've learned from other games designers and their designer notes and so on. And so it's really something I'm trying to pay attention to as we move this game forward. Anyway, here there is a nice long-range shot by the leader of the Shoota Ladz here. Manages to knock out one of the Melee Boyz who was exposed. He wasn't in cover from that angle. So this just goes to show you how important it is to try and get the lining up of these things right. In response, the leader of the Melee Boyz charges in and then is promptly counterattacked by another Ork on the Shoota Ladz side. There's a ganging up opportunity here, and that leader Ork actually goes down really, really quickly. A bit of a surprise. And so now the Melee Boyz are at a big disadvantage. They try to counter by moving in and getting into combat, which is their forte. They want to get stuck in as much as they can. And so they're moving in and getting into contact. As the turn wraps up here, the Melee Boyz are now 2 Orks down on the ground, and so they're going to have to take a morale check. There's a penalty for that, obviously, because they've got 2 Orks down, and so they do manage to pass it, but yeah, they're not looking too good at this stage. And then they instantly look even worse when their leader gets taken out completely. Someone sticks the boot in on him, and so now he's out of the game. Even worse, the Melee Boyz roll no activations on the next phase, so then it goes straight back to the Shoota Ladz, and they create a 2-on-1 situation up at the top here, behind the green container. And the remaining Melee Boyz are having a hard time actually getting into melee. The distances are a little bit too great, and there's not quite enough cover for them here. So as the turn progresses, they have a couple of ineffectual actions here. And then the Shoota Ladz, with the 2-on-1 over there, managed to take down the Ork over there. So now the Melee Boyz are down 3 Orks. So this has been a little bit of an illustration here of it being hard to cross open ground under fire and get into combat. So that's kind of working well from my point of view, designing all of this. So yeah, pretty happy about that. Anyway, to wrap up this turn, the Melee Boyz do manage to get one of their Orks by the green container there, back up and standing again. He recovers from being down, but then they have to take their morale check, and unfortunately they manage to fail that. And so that will take them out of the game. They will retreat, and the Shoota Ladz will win the day this time. So for this playtest, again, I'm pretty happy with the result. This one involved a lot more shooting. Shooting isn't easy when there's cover, but when the orcs here are trying to cover open ground and get into melee, that's not so easy. And so I'm pretty happy about the way the results are working out here. With a lot more terrain on the table, this could be really interesting, where you're jockeying for position and trying to get yourself into the best situation you can to use the weapons you have available. Anyway, I hope you found that a little bit interesting. It was for me, playing through and just checking all the rules and how things are working. I'll get more things up in the future, including a little bit more of a discussion about the rules. But for now, thanks for watching, and we'll see you again real soon.